Hi guys, we're back. Day 30, Body, Mind, Spirit Challenge. My name is Jim Standish, one of your co-hosts, and welcome back. So today I think we're going to dive right back in where we left off. We were talking about the I Ching systems instruments, their ability to seal and heal neurological pathways, in correct imbalances, as well as remove subatomic particles from your field. Now, we use the expression that every living thing desires to experience life from perfect balance point. And perfect balance point is that place where your body and your electrical system are completely aligned and energy is flowing freely through your system without obstructions. Now, I'm a fan of chiropractic. I have a chiropractor that has really helped me through some interesting and challenging injuries. The concept behind chiropractic is that it aligns your spine, and when your spine is aligned, energy is flowing through your system properly. Same thing with acupuncture. An acupuncturist stimulates gates in your system. There are 72,000 nadis in your system, or energy points, energy centers. So I think you could understand to be a competent acupuncturist, there is an incredible amount of studying. 72,000 nadis you got to know. Okay, seriously. And what the needles do is they stimulate those little gates. And the gates can also be represented in the I Ching. And we talked about the I Ching and the 64 hexagrams, how there are 64 bits in your computer, 64 strands in your DNA, and that the hexagrams actually represent opened and closed gates. And when energy is flowing properly through your system, your body has a much better chance of healing itself. So with the I Ching systems technology, I shared that, finally we can really demonstrate this photographically. And in the handout today and on the website, if you go to ichingtools.com, you will see some GDV imagery of how the instruments align your chakra points, and we can actually demonstrate that photographically as how your system comes into alignment. And to go into the entire process, it would take quite a bit of time. So what I want to do is just kind of share some of these things with you and invite you to do your own research. Kind of go out, check this stuff out for yourself. And I just want to share with you a couple little instruments that are really cool. So we saw the perfect balance card. This little guy, this is called the Little Wonder. Okay, and it's actually a handheld device. And this was developed specifically to keep in your pocket. And it was specifically designed for people potentially in an office situation. Now, I talked about the accumulation of subatomic particles from other people, other well-intending, influential people in our lives. What this little guy does is you kind of keep it in your pocket, and it will protect your system from accumulating subatomic particles from the boss that comes up to you and says, hey, blah, blah, blah. And if, again, we'll get back to that emotional feeling of hurt, subatomic particles being delivered by somebody else into your system, and how you react to that. I think I just got a notification on my computer. Did you guys all hear that? And we talked about that, how you can accumulate subatomic particles. One of the more advanced instruments is this guy. Pull this out. This is kind of a big guy. This is called the Rainbow Bridge. It's an advanced instrument. I bring this with me when I do seminars, and it is really quite interesting to see how people react to this. And in my experience, sometimes people with the most damage just become glued to this thing like a magnet, and that kind of shows me the power behind the instrument itself. So sometimes we'll be at a seminar, and we have them set up in the table in the back, and there'll be people that are just like holding on to it. And typically, we tell people that 15 minutes is enough. It's like a glass of water that you can pour water into the glass, and it's only going to hold so much. So your body is going to receive this energy. The energy is going to cycle through your body, and it's only going to hold so much at any one given time. And we'll see people holding on to these things, and just I'll come up behind them and say, hey, when you put a turkey in the oven and the little thing pops up, well, I think you're done. And in speaking to these people later, and I'll have a conversation with them, either after the seminar or at the end of the day, and they will share with me some kind of like horrific childhood story about their parenting or some of the things that they went through as kids, and it just kind of demonstrates to me that that this really works. I mean, it's an amazing thing. The other really kind of cool thing that you can do with this instrument actually is send the energy telepathically. And I know this sounds completely far out. However, there's this guy Einstein. I don't know, Albert Einstein. Have you ever heard of him? He's fairly prolific in American culture. He and this guy Dr. Rosen demonstrated, and they were humble enough to name it after themselves. They called it the Einstein-Rosen Bridge. And they demonstrated scientifically that a person can send a thought from one part of the world to another part of the world, and that the thought is delivered almost instantaneously. So me wanting validation and wanting to prove the efficacy of this, I set up an experiment with a couple of close friends of mine that I knew were fairly intuitive and very sensitive. And I set up this experiment with the Rainbow Bridge. It was called the Super Booster at the time. That I said, look, I'm gonna put you on the Super Booster, and we're gonna pick a time. So say like next Tuesday, anytime between 2 and 4, I'm gonna drop you on, and I want you to tell me what time it was that I put you on. And time after time after time after time again, the people were able to tell me to the moment when I introduced the energy or sent the energy to them. So again, absolute 100% validation that this works. Crazy stuff. Not really so crazy if you understand the science behind it. And that is what I've been sharing with you all along is all of these various topics that we've talked about. Any one of these topics we could have done an entire 30 days on, right? I mean, we could do an entire 30 days on meditation. We could do an entire 30 days certainly on the Destiny card system or the I Ching system, or certainly I Ching systems and the I Ching systems instruments. And it is my intention to share with you a bunch of different opportunities. No one thing is a fit for everybody. And what I wanted to do is to share with you tools, tips, and techniques that will enhance your life experience. So hopefully you have been keeping notes, and you've been going through your notebook, and you've been writing these things down. And that is the specific reason I asked you to do that, is so that you can go back and revisit these things. So you may decide to choose a topic. Let's say you're like, all right, I'm going to get into this Destiny card thing, and you dive into it. I mean, there could be 6, 8, 10 months of research there, and work, and understanding the system and putting it to work in your life. And then you might turn the page and say, well, I'm gonna try meditation. So my entire purpose for this whole thing was to develop the spiritual side of you. I'm picking up the spiritual pillar, and what we think of as spiritual is that of the non-physical world. A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not religious, but I'm really spiritual." Okay, and I think that the paradigm that we're in religions have been a dominant force in our thought process, in our evolutionary process, and that sometimes we rely on a specific religious doctrine to explore the spiritual side of ourselves. And I think that you could combine any religion and explore any religion. It doesn't matter what religion it is or what your practice is, that every single one of them have certainly a huge spiritual component to them, or an understanding of the non-physical world and how you are not only here, that you can touch and feel and see. And I have demonstrated to you and shared with you the science that there's a whole nother part of us that is very real and very physical, however, physical in the nanoparticle world, the world that we can't necessarily see or touch. However, can we not see it? Are we not developing technology more and more all the time that goes deeper and deeper and deeper so that we can actually see these things that we thought didn't exist? And that is what has been the most fun for me, is that I've been a student of metaphysics my entire life. And now that science is catching up to some of that stuff, we can actually prove and demonstrate that a lot of this spiritual stuff, a lot of this, what people think is a pile of poop, is very real, very physical, and very valid. So I thank you very much for joining me through this journey. And it is my hope, my wish, and my prayer that you are able to take some of these tools, tips, and techniques, utilize them in your life, and then create for yourself an incredible, wonderful, magical life experience. I invite you to stay in touch. You have my website, you have my address, my email address. I think all that stuff we've handed out. Pulled out the PDFs for today. There's some handouts today. It's been my pleasure to share this information with you, and I hope we have the opportunity to work together and we do this again, because, as I said, any one of these topics we can go much deeper in, much deeper. I have kind of skimmed the surface on a whole bunch of stuff, and it's really just to expand your awareness. And it's been my pleasure to share. God bless. We'll see you guys in the future. Take care.